Welcome to the Video Outhouse. Stick around for me, please.
What an imbecile. What an ultramaroon.
If it's a week, sure, we'll look back at it. Here's Comic Book Man and JR with Week in Review.
Hey folks, how you doing? Comic Book Man here. Welcome once again to my Video Outhouse. It's time for...
Week in Review.
Thank you, JR. Week in Review. This is a Week in Review for July the 21st, 2010 at San Diego Comic-Con weekend.
How's Comic Book Man Review a week? You can't even remember what the segment is.
San Diego Comic-Con weekend. And we're going to talk a little bit about San Diego Comic-Con, but not a lot. Both of us are coming to you live from the San Diego Comic-Con right now, as you can tell.
It's very quiet here.
Well, we're in a quiet corner.
Yeah, we are.
We're in the alternate reality corner of the San Diego Comic. Actually, I'm online this week, and all these people are putting stuff on Facebook. I'm in booth number 1023 for such and such comic book company. So we're at the San Diego Comic Con. Look for us in booth number 143,392
The Krispy Kreme donut booth.
in the Mount Greenwood annex of the San Diego Comic Con.
Wow.
So come on down, stop by our table. We'll be happy to see you.
It's in the parking garage.
It's in the parking garage. One of the things we do want to talk about, being the Week in Review, is we want to talk about comic books that are being featured in movies, and movies that are being featured in comic books and TV series,
TV shows.
And the reason for this is not only because San Diego is essentially just a big movie show anymore.
Yes, it is.
But comic books this week had two books shipped. We had Charm #1 and True Blood #1. Both of these. Charm #1 came from Zenescope. True Blood #1 came from IDW. And they were the two big books for this week. It was a huge week this week for books, but these were like the big things that shipped this week in terms of what you should be looking for. And the response to this has been sort of lukewarm.
I guess
Hasn't been terrible. People haven't.
I guess that's
avoided
not
it,
too
but-
surprising, Comic Book Man. I mean, first off, we're looking at this property right here, which honestly is probably past its expiration date.
Yeah, probably.
Still got its fans,
There
though.
still has its fans.
Probably, but then again, this is way past its expiration
Yeah, and
date.
this has been going on for a while.
And Boom brought us back from the dead last year.
And the thing of it is that the comic book companies go for these titles, these TV-related titles and movie-related titles, because it has a built-in name recognition factor.
You betcha.
And they think it's going to bring people into the door to buy the books. It's not always the case, and from what you're saying, it's not necessarily the case with these.
Yeah.
Although, the vampire thing is hot right now. Charm does have its built-in audience.
Yeah.
But I can see where it would be a little soft, probably, in sales.
Yeah, well, these have been softer than I would have thought they would have been for sales. I mean, I was sort of, my attitude before this came out was that one of these is going to be really big, and both of them have sold at about the same level, which this really surprises
kind
me.
of
I had a lot of
surprising.
people asking about this before it came out.
Could it be that a lot
Of course,
people...
they all might be in San Diego too.
It could be one of the things where a lot of people don't realize that's come out yet. People outside of the comic book realm.
Right,
You
how do
had
they-
the similar thing happen with the Dark Tower books.
Yeah,
Which when they first came in, you had a ton of the initial run.
yeah, the initial run.
And then once the word got out that the book was
Right,
out there,
how do they promote it? Beyond the comic book fan.
Well, we've talked about that before. They don't. I mean,
There you go.
your promotion is San Diego this weekend.
yeah.
But on the rack here, if you look behind me, you'll see that this week's shipping, a big chunk of this week's shipping,
Tons of-
was properties that came from other
TV
media
and-
outside
yeah.
of comics. I mean, you've got Transformers over here, True Blood, Charmed, the Terror from Beyond Space, which is based on a MGM movie. IDW's got the rights to do a bunch of
50s sci-fi horror. type of-
MGM stuff.
Yeah.
MGM stuff. I think they're doing Forbidden Planet at some
Wow.
point. They're going to do an
Wow,
adaptation of
okay.
Forbidden Planet.
True to form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, as true to form as this is, I mean, this is an adaptation of that, but, I mean, if you flip through this, you can tell real quick that it's an updated one, because one of the crew members in this thing is African American, which obviously wasn't in the original, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's an adaptation update of the book, of the original movie, I should say. You also have Spike, Doctor Who, way back here, behind the corner here, Doctor Who. Of course, Simpsons,
Perennial favorite.
perennial favorite. Go up on the second tier, we've got G.I. Joe, which is actually the adaptation, which is actually a continuation of the Marvel series, Real American Hero. Death Ship, which is Dracula. Farscape, which we just talked about. Futurama, The Incredibles, Muppet Snow White, Finding Nemo. I mean, all this stuff, none of it came from comics. This is all other products that came into the comic book universe and sits on the racks. Now, if you're an independent publisher, one of the things you might be saying to yourself is, rack space is at a premium at most stores, and look how much space is being taken up by this stuff. But then again, store owners buy this stuff because it has a built-in audience, and people will come in and buy it.
They do, but only to a certain degree. And I think
Yeah.
people have to realize that these books are out there, which is going to take the publishers and maybe even the TV people that sold these properties to them in the first place, letting that audience know, hey, this is out there. Buy it.
So, anyway, it's. I just thought that it was interesting that so much TV movie related stuff shipped in this 1 week, being a San Diego week. Also, not that this stuff wouldn't come out anyway, but it just seemed like it was a huge concentration of it.
Yeah,
this
that's
week.
probably the reason.
Also, like I said, we're going to talk about San Diego. A couple of news stories coming out of San Diego were that people were buzzing about. The Walking Dead trailer,
Yes.
which I saw the
handheld
jittery
camera version?
Handheld. They're running it in San Diego, and I've got my little camera running, and here I am putting it on Facebook already. I saw that, and it actually looks quite good.
That's
It
what they
looks
say, yeah,
really,
I've
really
seen
good. I'm looking forward to it.
A lot of buzz about that show. Robert Kirkman, who's actually written a couple of the episodes,
Yeah.
said that one of the extras on the eventual DVD will be an option to watch it in black and white to recreate the comic book experience.
Yeah, I was telling him, well, why don't you just turn your
Dial down your TV.
Being an old fart, I remember you used to be able to watch black and white TV whenever you wanted to. You just fool around with the color settings on your TV, and apparently you can't do that.
Yeah,
that,
and the
that
newer
well
sets,
anymore.
it's all sort of automatic now, so you don't have to dink with the color or anything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's the 21st century.
Also, people were talking about San Diego was the DC Universe Online game, which I haven't seen, but Jeffy has seen.
And I have seen.
Haven't you, Jeff?
They should be doing movies along those
Yeah,
lines.
it's a
I would love
CG
to see
animated. It's a trailer for this game called DC Online that Jim Lee has a hand in the character design and I guess the plot line to some degree.
Yeah.
It's a 5-minute trailer and it is pretty fabulous and it pulls a lot of incidents and dialogue from certain comic books and so forth. But it's pretty great and like Cameraman said, it should really be something they would consider doing as a full-fledged animated feature.
I would love
Yeah.
to see them explore that more. Some of those best things are like 30-second spots.
Yeah.
Also at San Diego, continuing with gaming, and again, this whole show is about other media coming to comics. Continuing with gaming, Marvel released the Spider-Man Shattered Dimension trailer for that video game,
Right.
which features Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, Spidey 2099, and Spider-Man Noir, and I guess you can jump back and forth between
That's
each of
what
those
they
characters
say, yeah.
and play within those universes against villains from each of those universes too.
The game's not out yet, from what I understand. It's
No,
coming.
no, it's coming.
And it's sort of an unknown commodity. Usually these sort of either comic book or movie-related games tend to kind of stink
Yeah.
because they're rushed. But you never know with this one. This one's not wrapped around any kind of movie or anything, so it might be pretty decent. It certainly looks good.
The thing that I found most interesting about this is Spider-Man Noir is in it, which is a relatively recent addition to the Spider-Man universe. And the whole Noir thing just started about two and a half years ago. And now he's already in a video game, which makes me wonder if that wasn't the whole idea
Probably.
behind the Noir universe in the first place. Just another, intellectual property that we can squeeze
Yep.
into a video game
Yep.
as opposed to, what a grand idea.
Exactly. And to
Let's
keep-
do this wonderful
Comics
idea.
are an afterthought at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes the game feel very au courant, very
current,
current. Yes.
Also mentioned at San Diego, Contract with God, the Will Eisner graphic novel,
Yeah.
is going to be turned into a live-action film, which should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Which should be pretty good. If you never read Contract with God, you really owe it to yourself to read that or some of the other Eisner stuff, because that stuff is really groundbreaking, and that stuff formed a lot of the template for what you're reading today in comic book graphic novels.
Do that, comic book fans, because it's all about knowing where this stuff came from to be able to appreciate maybe what it should be now as opposed to what it used to be then.
Yeah.
The Contract with God is a seminal work. Needs to be read.
And the last story we've got is a childhood favorite of mine, a childhood favorite of yours, which was announced this week. It's coming out on DVD finally, and that, of course, is the $6 Million Man
Yes, it
and the
is.
Bionic Woman to DVD. And they're not releasing these as seasons. You got to buy the whole thing.
Well, here you go. All right,
if you want to buy it.
Let's break this down. First off, $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman were held up in rights for years. You're probably saying, why didn't this come out like ages ago
Yeah.
on DVD? There were all sorts of rights problems. Don't
Same
ask-
reason Batman the TV series isn't out.
Yeah, I don't know what exactly the story is with $6 Million Man, but finally that's all been cleared up. Now, $6 Million Man is coming out, as Comic Book Man has said, in one big fat giant box, 40 discs,
7 seasons, right? Or something like that.
6, 7 seasons. It's coming out from Time Life, and it's going to be in one humongous box set. Bionic Woman is coming out through Universal. Those will be in individual seasons.
Yeah.
So take your pick. But all this stuff has been cleared out. For those of you geeky fans like us out there, you know that some of the episodes were cross-cutting between the two series.
Okay.
They'll all be on the sets. You won't have to worry about jumping back and forth. If there's a part 2 of a Bionic Woman that's on $6 Million Man, you'll be able to buy one set and see the whole thing.
Okay.
Finally coming out, but God knows what that 40-disc $6 Million Man set is going to cost, Comic Book Man.
Well,
I'm guessing.
as someone who lived through all those when they first came out, whenever they do break it down to seasons, buy the first season and then God be your co-pilot
Oh, we
for the
talked
rest
about
of them.
this. First season of $6 Million Man was 3 or 4 TV movies
Yeah.
that played very differently from the series that came after it. They were
Right.
sort of James Bond-esque. They
Okay.
treated the character as sort of a spy
Yeah.
sort of character.
Okay, that's it. We're done.
We're
We'll
done.
finish out of here. That's the week in review. But you go to the store's website and check out all of his media reviews
Yep.
and all of Bo's news, which he sends me. And where's the website at? Sarah knows.
Sarah knows.
www.myalternatereality.com. Can I have my iPod back now?
And until next time, this is Comic Book Man
And it's JR.
saying, don't miss Shipshape for this week.
Yep.